Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to discuss about the initiatives of a project implementation. When we want to implement a standard or else to renew an existing standard, there are some initiatives which you have to consider. Here in this video I'm going to discuss the steps of the project implementation. In the first and foremost, in project implementation, we have to identify the gaps. In identification of the gaps, we have to find where we are and where we want to be. For that, we have to do an analysis or an assessment. So, the meaning of the gap analysis is how to add a bridge from one side to the other to connect the gaps. This is the most crucial step in project implementation. When you are conducting a gap analysis, you have to be vigilant and do it in a meticulous way. To do a gap analysis, you have to follow a step by step process. Depend on the components you want to have, or else the requirement you plan to have, directing where you want to be. Imagine of a situation of implementation of a standard or renewal of a standard in a company. You can use the gap analysis based on the types of projects. There can be gap analysis for performance analysis, for market gap analysis, for financial gap analysis, for product gap analysis, etc. Here, mainly, we are discussing about the performance gap analysis. Performance gap analysis helps to evaluate the comparison between the expectations and the reality. Imagine when you want to implement a standard or to renew a standard, you have to follow the analysis of the performance and the requirements to meet the criteria of the respected standard. For that, we can use the gap analysis. There are some important fields that you have to include in your gap analysis. Objectives of conducting the gap analysis or the objectives of the project implementation, assessment of the current performance, identification of the gaps and classification of them based on the priority, development of the action plans, considering the resources, timeline, involvement of the people. The last is benchmarking, process mapping, and use of tools for analysis if required. This is an example of gap analysis including all the fields. You can design your gap analysis process as per the designing criteria you wish to have in the project initiation. After completion of a precise gap analysis, you have to make the project schedule. It is vital to have a correct project schedule as it determines the deadline of the project. The effectiveness and efficiency determines the growth and the profit of a company. Management of the timeline is one of the key components of evaluating the efficiency of the project implementation. Following after the gap analysis, you can start the creation of the project schedule. Remember, when you are creating the project schedule, you have to be careful about the timeline because if it's a customer based project, you may have not been given an adequate time to complete the project successfully. For successful completion of a project, you have to have proper plan or a proper project schedule considering all the issues what you have encountered during the gap analysis and also identification of the solutions. Not only that, remember You have to keep a time to have discussions with your customer and with the responsible people attached to your customer. There can be many ways of creating a project schedule. Gantt charts can be used as your project schedule, or else, if there's a software which is used in your company or by your project manager, you can use that software to outline your project schedule. In addition to the project schedule, there are some companies may be using the project charter considering the Lean Six Sigma. Instead of using the project schedule, you may be using the project charter based on the company requirement. To resolve a problem in the organization, the project charter is helpful by creating more accurate and descriptive way of solving the problem. When you're making the project charter, you have to consider some important fields that you have to include in the project charter: the scope in, the scope out, timeline, and team charter. For timeline, you can use the DMAIC method: define, measurement, analysis, improvements, and control. If you have included these fields in the project charter, it will be more descriptive and comprehensive charter in your project. Then easily you can resolve the problem. You can design the way of the project charter as you have discussed with your customer or with the organization. In this video, we discuss about the project initiatives which are vital in project implementation. In the project implementation, the image that you create towards the customer is more important. To build up a good image and to make a good cooperation in both the parties, you have to create the project initiatives with a very good planning. For that, you have to use the tools and your knowledge together with the experience to complete a project successfully. So, in this video, hope you understood about the project's initiatives, and in our next videos we'll plan to bring more about how to conduct a project. Till then, hope you enjoy by watching our videos KK Creations. Don't forget to subscribe our channel to watch more important videos in future. Bye.